Hello and welcome back to Forza Horizon 5. Now you may remember recently that I made a video looking at 4 countries to see who made the best hot hatches in the 80s. Now, for those of you who don't know, Japan came up top with the mighty Honda CRX. Now, what about today? Now this time there are 5 countries because South Korea has stepped in with Hyundai's N division. So let's see what's what. From Germany we have the Volkswagen Scirocco R. I don't know where the GTI is either. From Britain we have the most powerful Mini ever made, the 2020 GP. From Japan we have the all-powerful Honda Civic Type R. From France, we have the Renault Megane RS300 that managed to beat the Type R around the Nürburgring. And finally, from Korea, we have the Hyundai Veloster N. Now, the reigning champions at Honda went first with the Honda Civic. Now, this challenge is about cornering speed. Now, what I decided to do was go around the stadium, as that's basically a big circle. And, well, Honda managed to top out at a speed of 131. Good benchmark. Now, let's see who's next. Alright, Britain with the mighty Mini. Now this Mini's got proper downforce like the Honda. However, I think the Mini's probably more finely tuned. In fact, yes it has. It's just beaten the Honda. I think this is going to be the fastest run, 135 miles per hour. Now France, for those of you who don't know, the Renault Megane RS300 trophy managed to beat the Honda Civic Type R's time around the Nürburgring by 3 seconds. And I think that's pretty down to its cornering because it actually has less power than the Civic. So let's see. Actually, I don't think it's going to do it. In fact, it only tops out at 129. Close, but no cigar. Anyway, now moving on to Germany with the mighty Scirocco R. Now, the Scirocco has a pretty square stance, so it actually corners much better than any of the other cars because it's so wide. But that width is a bit of an issue considering the track around the stadium is very narrow. And it's also less powerful than most of the competitors, so it only tops out at a speed of 127. Ooh dear. And finally, Hyundai, with 275 horsepower, the least powerful car of the bunch. But I don't know how Hyundai's N division is going to fare. I mean, this is a new company. I mean, I'm not really expecting a new company to just suddenly rise to the top. Anyway, let's see how it does. It's not doing so well. And, well, looks like my predictions were correct. Now, you may remember in my last video, if you tuned in, I did a city driving challenge with trucks. But this time, I'm going to be doing it with the hot hatches. These cars are all sort of designed to drive well in the city, because they're all front-wheel drive and they've all got pretty peppy performance. Especially this, the Renault Megane, designed in France. Now France has quite a lot of narrow streets, so I think this should cope quite well. Now let's see what benchmark this little blue hatchback can set. And this is about a mile, and it does 1 minute .01. That's not bad. Now let's see how it can deal with the Street King, the Honda Civic Type R. Good launch. This thing is nearly 320 horsepower going straight to the front wheels, so the start is going to be lively. But the worst thing, understeer. As you can probably hear, the tyres are screeching as it goes around the bends. I think this car's probably too fast for the city. The handling's good though. When I tested these around a racetrack, the Civic certainly felt good. But it was still slower than the Megane. Now what about Hyundai? Least powerful car, but still peppy performance, but its low power might be a good thing. It might have the right amount of power to deal with the streets, so let's see what it can do. Nice flat cornering, and not much understeer actually. It's very smooth. It's got all these cars have turbocharged engines in fact, so the turbo is fantastic. It's got a proper city car. This turbo will help you get out of tight bends super quickly. Unfortunately, it doesn't work in this car because it was slower than both, currently sitting right at the bottom. Now, what about the Mini? The original Mini was perfect for cities. Its transaxle front-wheel drive layout was revolutionary. And, well, this is the most powerful Mini ever, so it still shares its underpinnings with its city-dwelling cousin. So let's just see what it can do. And across the line in less than a minute of absolutely obliterating the Renault. And finally, the Scirocco. It's got good handling, but the streets aren't too narrow, so actually it's a wide stance. It's not going to be such a bad thing. So let's see what this thing can do. It was pretty smooth. I mean, it's got similar power to the Hyundai, but I think it actually handles way better. I added 500 horsepower to this thing once, and it was actually still fairly controllable. 101.8, so slower than the Megane, but still very good. Okay, now we are in the mountains for this next challenge. Now, for those of you who don't know, if you want to get a front-wheel drive car sideways, wait for winter, because that way the roads will be nice and icy, which is why I took these cars to a speed zone to see which one handles slippery conditions the best. Now, this was super lively, this Scirocco, but it actually did quite well, 82, despite its low power. But let's see the Megane. It's way more powerful. Oh dear, I think I'm going to need to slow down a lot for this car, and that's going to absolutely obliterate the score for this car. Around the bend, and it doesn't really slide around too much, this, but the problem is it accelerates, so you've got to really brake hard for these corners, and because of the slippery conditions, the braking distance is going to be a lot longer, so you've got to brake earlier. 80.5, so way slower than the less powerful Scirocco. Right now the Mini. The Mini was developed on a track, but probably the track wasn't covered in ice, so I don't know what to expect here. The Mini got very sideways. I mean, I braked way too hard. The brakes actually locked up and the car went sideways. Crazy. But actually, I don't think that's going to be bad. This thing is really flat despite the slippery conditions. And across this, wow, it's actually done quite well. Look at that. Okay, now for the Hyundai. The Hyundai's not that quick. It's quite jittery under braking. It just doesn't have that acceleration out of the corner like any of the other cars do. So, let's see. It's very smooth, but can it beat the others? No. 80 on the dot, no chance. Especially not because the next competitor is the Type R. Now the Type R's probably got fantastic handling. Well, it has got fantastic handling. In fact, for a while this was the fastest car on the Nürburgring until the Renault beat it. So let's see what it can do in this very icy Mexican volcano. Braking hard, the car's actually sliding. You see what I mean? You need to wait for winter. And across the line, here are the scores. As you can see, the Mini came first, so that is a victory for Britain.